Does your website create customers or chase them away? Bringing new customers to your website is hard enough, and it's only half the battle. Does your website give the customer what she's looking for instantly? I'm Bruce Apar, and this is Bruce Mishkin. Let's play Main Street Marketing Challenge. Main Street Marketing Challenge is brought to you by Pinpoint Marketing and Design. And, coincidentally enough, this is a show where we pinpoint the marketing challenges that are facing most businesses in today's shifting media landscape. And there's a lot that we're going to be talking about on this and future shows that we hope and we intend will help you in business figure out how you can reach customers that are, as Bruce Mishkin likes to say, are like moving targets. And that's only becoming more and more the case. And so, Bruce, I think we should also tell people where the challenge comes in the title. I mean, because Main Street Marketing Challenge, to us means a few different things, right?
Right. Well, the challenges are many because we have what was true for marketing 10, 15, 20 years ago isn't true anymore.
Yeah.
First of all, you have the internet, which was not an advertising medium because the internet really didn't exist for most consumers.
Right.
But the challenge really is the technology and the advertising technologies that have come about since the advent of the internet, especially in the last 7 years, as we've gotten smartphones and we can bring our computers with us wherever we can go.
Right.
And websites which have existed for many years, but now it's a battle for how do you reach the consumer, my potential customer, where are they, and how can I influence them to do business with my business?
Right. And a couple of things that I think a lot of people in the audience will relate to is that if you watch TV, which I think most people do, and you have, let's say, a cable subscription, for example, there are things like called HBO Now, where you can be watching some of the great shows on HBO. I mean, we all know about Boardwalk Empire and The Sopranos, and now Vinyl, and you can watch the new episode, once it's broadcast, you can watch it whenever you want.
That's right.
So now it's really driven by the viewer, not by somebody who's scheduling the show.
That's right. I think if you really want to put it into perspective, with marketing and advertising, it was a push environment where advertising was pushed on you.
Right.
And this didn't mean that you saw every ad that was out there, but advertisers selected a fairly broad audience. And let's say it was Mercedes-Benz, and they're advertising on Meet the Press.
Right.
Well, that's a good buy for them, even though it's a relatively small audience, because it's a moneyed audience.
Right.
Nevertheless, maybe 5% of that audience is really even interested in buying a car at that moment that the Mercedes-Benz ad is shown on TV.
Right.
So there was always a lot of waste in advertising.
Right.
And one of the challenges now is, how can I narrow my target? How can I reach only the people who are most likely to become customers of mine without spending money all over the place?
Right. And a phrase you don't hear too much anymore, but of course when we were growing up and coming up, mass media.
Right.
Remember mass media?
Right.
So now it's more like micro media. As you said, it's really, instead of many to one, it's more like the reverse. It's one to many.
Right. But in addition to that, I mentioned push. Now it's all pull.
Yeah, right.
We decide
Right.
what we want to see, when we want to see it.
Right.
We decide what even on our cable remotes, we can decide only to list our favorite channels.
Right.
And so we never get exposed to channels that we're not interested in. But everything now, we're in an on-demand world.
Yes. And remember, both Bruce and I, who've known each other for
A long
more
time.
than 35
Yeah,
years,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
We are part of the VCR generation, and in fact, we both worked at a really pioneering magazine, consumer magazine called Video. But it occurs to me now, Bruce, especially with what you're saying, the way media has been unhinged, from its shackles, so to speak,
Right.
and we could manipulate it any way we want. That there was a very prophetic saying that was coined during the VCR phase or
Right.
era. Remember, watch what you want, when you want. And if I'm not mistaken, give credit where credit's due, I think Arthur Morowitz, who was the president of the video software dealers, I think he came up with that.
Right.
Watch what you want, when you want. At the time, it was used to sell VCRs and rent movies to people, but now it applies to all media.
Right. But that was, it's funny because that's sort of when the shift began.
Yes.
Because it took power away from the broadcast networks,
Right.
the cable networks, independent channels, and we could watch one program and tape another at the same time, which
Right.
was, with the VCR, that was its initial pitch to consumers. Tape one program while you
Right.
watch another.
Right.
And there was always that battle. There were two television shows that I want to watch, and they're both on at 9 o'clock on Sunday.
Right.
You had only the alternative of watching one show, and then when repeats began in the next season, you could then devote yourself to the other show.
Right.
The VCR alleviated that problem completely.
Right. So basically, what we're saying here is that the VCR was sort of the juggernaut, so to speak, that got out in front of the way that media was distributed at the time.
Right.
And it opened the door just enough. Right.
Right.
Now the door it's like double French doors that are wide open.
Right.
And as we know, all of the content providers, by which we mean television networks and movie studios, have been scrambling now for years and are still in the process of figuring out how do we hold on to our audience, how do we monetize our audience, how do we satisfy advertisers. Now there's ad blocking, right?
Right.
There's ad blocking, and now there's anti-ad blocking, right?
Right.
And we should say well, again, I don't want to assume anything. What is ad blocking?
Well, there's what's called ad blocking software,
Right.
and even though I'm not a tech guy, so to speak,
Right.
you can block ads that would otherwise appear on your screen. It might float across the screen, or it might just be a banner ad, or what's called a skyscraper ad on the side, and you can block those
On
ads
your computer screen.
on the
yeah.
computer screen.
And also, and now we're going to get into sort of the meat of the matter for this particular episode of the show. So I know I'll see ads on my computer screen, and I'll ask you, do you want to see this ad or not want to see this ad or don't want to see any more ads like this, right?
Well, that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
In that case, what they're doing, it's sort of like Pandora when you give a thumbs up or a thumbs down
Right.
to a song that you're listening to, it knows not to play that song again.
Right.
Well, with the instance that you're talking about, it's really it wants to cater to your interests.
Right.
So if something is not of interest to you, you don't have to see it. And advertising now, which is a large part of the way that businesses acquire customers. Advertising now, whereas you had to reach almost everybody in the past, you can really focus on only the people who are favorably disposed or are in the market
Right.
for the product that you're looking for or are interested in that subject matter.
Or at that moment, right,
Right.
actively searching.
Right.
And what is Google, what is that word that Google has? What is it, micro moments? that they
Micro
call it?
moments.
Right.
Right.
And they're saying they're trying to pinpoint.
Right, right.
to narrow it down to the extent that a business's ad will be seen at the very moment that somebody is ready to buy.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But even with that, and again, relating to business people, I think the challenge that business people have now is there weren't many choices in the old days. Okay, you had a few radio stations, you had
Right.
television networks. You
Three,
had
remember?
Three
TV networks.
Three TV
They used to
networks.
be, folks.
You had general mass magazines like Life and Look and
Right.
Saturday Evening Post, and that's why many businesses could not afford TV advertising or radio advertising because you were paying for a mass audience.
Right. And by the way, there's a phrase that applies especially well to what you're saying, and that is now we have the paradox of choice.
Right.
There are so many choices. It sometimes is really difficult to decide which way to go.
That's right. And on the other side, the whole advertising and broadcast TV, cable TV, newspaper business are in turmoil,
Right.
and really have been in turmoil since the internet began.
Yes,
It
right.
started slowly. Now with smartphones and tablets,
Right.
you can go anywhere. Do you know that internet viewership online, the time that an average consumer spends online is now greater than the amount of time that they spend watching television?
Yeah, no, I mean,
It's
I do believe that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, there's a saying in the advertising world, go where the eyeballs are, or go,
Yes.
or you go fishing where the fish are biting.
Right,
And so, part of the challenge is, okay, I have a business, I want to attract customers.
Right.
I know it's going to cost me money. Where do I put my money?
Right.
Do I put it in a local newspaper? Do I put it on the internet? Do I take a TV spot out on a cable system and advertise only in my immediate area?
And what information can I find that's directly available to me that will tell me how well each of those are working for me, right?
Right,
Which is
right.
the data.
Right, and there are ways to do that,
Right.
but it's kind of cumbersome.
Yeah, right. Data analytics,
right.
right? Which is it's an intimidating phrase in itself.
Right, but it really comes down to how do you know it's working? Okay,
Right, exactly,
And we used to say in the old days, if you were in the business of selling advertising, you would say to a client, if the cash register is ringing, your advertising is working.
Or what's the famous John Wanamaker quote about advertising?
Oh, half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. I just don't know which half.
Right, but that's not true anymore.
It's not.
Right,
It's not true
right.
anymore. It's
Right.
absolutely not valid. Everything.
Now
is,
you know down to the dollar or the penny.
No,
right?
it's everything can be, if you play your cards right, everything can be accountable. But even with television, ad agencies that handled major accounts, whether it was Procter & Gamble, Colgate-Palmolive, Chevrolet, what have you, they were accountable because if the client did not see a measurable increase in sales, the agency was either fired or the campaign was scrapped. They could see it, especially on a national scale.
Right,
If their sales didn't go up 5%, 10%,
Right.
50%, then the advertising was not working, which leads to another old saying in advertising, which is, it's not creative unless it sells.
Right.
Because there were some terrific commercials out there that made people laugh and entertain people, but they never remembered the product.
Right.
And the campaigns failed.
Right.
So that's why it's not creative unless it sells. In the advertising world, means you think you're being creative, but if it's not doing the job it's intended to do,
Right.
then it has failed.
And that's that famous expression is really another form of saying form follows function.
Right.
First, it has to function, right, and
Right.
then whatever it looks like that's okay, but that's not the purpose of it.
Right, but if we're talking about functions, and you opened the show with about websites, talking
Right.
about websites and whether a website is attracting customers, is actually helping your business to produce revenue, or is it driving people away? And it's kind of interesting that now businesses have the opportunity to really focus in on those people who will be their ideal prospective customers.
Right.
And in many cases, and this happens on the web, they're squandering the opportunity.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. In the vernacular of video games, let's do some RPG, which is a role-playing game. But I'm a business owner, right? And you come in, let's say as a consultant, and say to me, Bruce, I could do some SEM for you that's really going to, increase customers for you? Are you going to get a lot of new customers? So let's start off with, what is SEM?
SEM, I don't know how many out there have heard the term before, but SEM is an acronym that stands for Search Engine Marketing. And search engine marketing is the utilization by an advertiser or a marketer of search engines to get its message out.
And search engines meaning
Google, there's
Yahoo.
Bing and Yahoo, and there are actually hundreds of search engines. You know, I've heard in the tech industry there's a search engine called DuckDuckGo. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but a lot of people write about it. I've visited it maybe once. But and this is why, so with SEM, that's the business of marketing your business on a search engine like Google or Yahoo and Bing.
Right.
But it's a totally different type of marketing than we're used to, because it's really based on what are called keywords, the words that people put in a search box on Google or Yahoo and Bing, and it's almost like reverse marketing, because you know people are interested in your product or your service. How am I going to hook up with them?
Right.
And the way you hook up with them in search engine marketing is by buying keywords that relate to your business that you believe people are putting in the search engine box.
Right.
So let's keep it really simple, okay? You put in stationery store.
Okay.
Well, that could be a small independent stationery store, or it could be Office Depot, Office Max, Staples. So what you do as that marketer is you bid on a keyword like stationery store, and you're essentially saying to Google, anytime that somebody types in the word stationery store, I want my ad to show.
Okay.
Well, think about that as a business. You can focus all of your dollars only on people who have an expressed interest in what you sell.
Right, and I was going to say, another way to paint that picture is to say that instead of chasing customers, you're trying to intercept customers.
Right, and that's where the pull comes in.
Right.
Okay, because in essence, with what are called commercial searches,
Right.
as opposed to, how big is the universe,
Right.
Type of question. With commercial searches relating to businesses, you are, like you said, intercepting customers, but people are going online because they want to do business with somebody.
Right.
They're there for that reason, and that's why I said that so many businesses squander the opportunity because their websites are not what I would call ready for prime time.
Right. So what you're saying there, Bruce, is that a website really isn't just like a retail storefront window. It has to actually convert the customer and not just show them.
Right. It's no, I don't think anybody ever saw a business card and said, "Oh, I'm going to do business with you."
Right.
Okay. But in a way, it is like window shopping.
Right.
Because you're opening up your business to them. Where things go wrong are on two levels, and this especially involves SEM, and there's another term too that probably a lot of people have heard, which is called SEO.
Yes, I think they probably heard that more than SEO.
Right. SEO stands for search engine optimization.
Right.
What you really are doing, if somebody says, well, SEO my site, or can you do SEO? What they're asking for is, can you get my business featured way up on top or on the first page of Google's search results?
You mean of Mount Google?
Of Mount Google, because it's...
That's what just so we explain to people, that's we call it Mount Google because everybody wants to get to the top of that mountain.
Right.
And in a manner of speaking, if you do it right, there's a pot of gold at the top of the mountain.
That's right, because the fact is, most people don't go very far down the listings on Google's results page because they're, generally speaking, the first result they're seeing is in most cases the most relevant result to their needs.
Right.
That having been decided by Google.
Right.
That's the SEO side of things.
Right. So what you're saying, I mean, and we're going to be covering this on, on the shows that we're doing going forward, is the trick, so to speak, and it's not a trick, it's just a lot of hard work, is to figure out what Google wants, right?
Well, I would go a step further and figure out, yes, what people want.
Right.
What your customer wants.
Right.
Google is the medium that's delivering your customers.
Right.
Okay? Where with SEO, the challenge is, okay, I've got 100 competitors. Well, Google is only devoting 10 spots on its results page, on every page,
Right.
is devoting 10 spots. How do I break into that,
But
that top 10?
and you're saying when you say Google's devoting 10 spots on the results page,
Right.
on the first page,
Right.
That's only in a particular vicinity, right? A locality.
No, the Google results page will have usually the same number of results per page. It's really a matter of, well, how many total results are they showing? If you look, I believe it's in the upper right-hand corner, it will say, found 3,675,000
Right.
results. So of those 3 million, how do you get to be only on that first page?
Right.
And how does your business come up over your competitors? And that's the job of a search engine a company that specializes in search optimization can help you with. Now, last week on the show, Bruce, we spoke about the spammers and scammers that try to fool Google into thinking this business is something other than what it is.
Right.
But in this case, if you play the game correctly, you think about what is relevant to my customer. What am I going to put on this page that is relevant to my customer's needs?
Right.
Okay. So this is where keywords still play an important role. Now, if somebody is looking, I'll give you an example because there are two aspects, more than two, but there are a couple of aspects to what's going to make a website successful. Number one, and again I mentioned this before, is the professional design. And all too often, people are leaving the designs of their websites in the hands of people who mean well, but they're really not designers or marketers, and they don't understand it. What they do know is the software and how to build a website and how to build the structure of a website, but they don't have that marketing head or concept, or they aren't true designers. In other words, if there hadn't been such a thing as a website, they wouldn't be in the design business.
Right.
Okay. And there are a lot of people doing that. So what happens?
And again, I just want to use, let's say, an analogy. It's the difference between a construction company and an architecture firm, maybe,
right. And by the same token, even in the interior of a building, let's say that you want your reception area to be really nice.
Right.
Okay. Well, by the way, your website is your reception area too, in a way.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay?
Yes.
You wouldn't want paper strewn, garbage spilled all over your website. The chairs aren't lined up. You have one chair over there, another chair over there. You want everything orderly and clean and neat. That's the way it's got to be with the website. The interesting thing, though, is if somebody's looking for what you sell and they get to your website and they don't see what they want, they're gone.
Leaving, right.
They're gone.
Right.
They're abandoning the website, and they're going on, and when thinking about Google, you go right back to the Google page. There are maybe 14 to 20 other competitors of yours right on that page, also asking for that customer's business.
Right.
So if they don't immediately see what they're looking for, let's say it's a children's bicycle, and then they get to your website and they see toys, or they see bicycles, but they only see men's and women's bicycles and no kids' bicycles.
Right.
So they're going to look at that, and the instinct is going to be to say, they don't have kids' bikes.
Right.
Okay? So that's why there's something called landing pages
Okay. Landing pages.
on a website. You can
And so, is that the home page?
The home page can be a landing page because a landing page is whatever page on your website somebody lands.
Okay.
Okay? So, for instance, on the SEM or the search engine marketing side, let's say that you are a toy store.
Okay. I'll be even more specific. Let's use this as the role-playing game. I'm looking for a hoverboard. So I just did this, by the way. I typed in Google hoverboards, and to your point, it's actually on the upper left at the top of the Google
Which
page.
are the ads?
No, upper left, I'm
Yeah.
saying. That's at the upper left, I was going to say something else. There are 30,800,000 results that were found, by the way, in 0.58 seconds,
Right.
a half a
Right.
second.
Right.
And on the right side are photos. Shop for hoverboards on Google, and photos and prices.
Right, and those are called,
and those-
for another acronym, those are called PLAs,
And that
or
is?
product listing ads.
Right, and it does say at the top of the 8 that they feature, sponsored.
Right.
So they're paid
Right,
for.
right, right.
But now, not to get too far afield, but let's just take a second, because this is somewhat newsworthy, is maybe, I think it was a week ago, right?
Last Monday it began, yeah.
So, and that would have been February 19th we're talking about, that Google announced they're no longer going to be showing, right, ads on the right side of the page?
Right, right. And you know, I don't know how many people out there are really aware of which are the ads and which are the results that Google decides to show, but the pattern has been in the past that Google would place 2 or 3 ads on the top left and then 8 ads down what's called the right rail, the right side of the
And
page.
that's what we're looking at here.
And
Right.
and
Yes, right.
right now, if you do a search on Google, where you normally would have seen ads on the right-hand side, you're not seeing them anymore.
Right.
Instead, you're seeing 3 or 4 ads on top, and then when you scroll down, you're seeing 3 or 4 ads on the bottom of that page.
Right. Right. Okay.
Okay.
And so what does that mean? Why did Google stop showing ads on the right side?
A couple of reasons. One reason was to streamline the Google page so that it is similar to the pages on mobile. When you look on a telephone or a smartphone with
Right.
its narrow screen, there's no room there for those ads on the side. So Google has only been showing ads on the top, and then as you scroll down, they'll show other ads. So it's consistent with the talk about how influential mobile is,
Right.
that Google has now mocked their smartphone layout for desktop.
Is that? So you're
Okay.
saying smartphones are leading, not following?
Right. Another reason, I know we don't have too much time,
Yeah.
another reason is that Google found that about 85% of all clicks on ads occurred only with those top 3 ads, and the 8 down the side weren't getting a lot of clicks.
Right.
Clicks to dollars mean, clicks to Google mean dollars.
Dollars, right.
Every time you click an ad, they get paid for that click.
Right, and we're going to be covering this on the next show, because according to my smartphone, we're out of time, that clicks to businesses, local businesses, mean dollars, right?
That's
And we're
right.
going to be talking about pay per click and cost per click and things like
Yeah,
that.
all the things you might have heard from people maybe trying to get you to buy their services, like PPC and SEM and SEO and CPC and CPA.
Right.
They all have real meanings. We're going to explain a lot of that.
Right, and again, as we're wrapping up this show, we want to make sure that the business owners and operators out there know that it's good that you know these terms. That's why we're talking about them and defining them and explaining them. But you don't have to worry about becoming expert or having a master's degree in them, because that's what we're here for, and that's what other people that you can find out in the marketplace are there for, to help you figure all this out and to in fact do it for you. So anyhow, on behalf of Bruce Mishkin and myself, Bruce Apar, thanks for watching Main Street Marketing Challenge, and we'll see you next time.